Welcome, everyone. So, have you ever taken a walk in the woods or maybe just looked out at a local park and wondered how scientists actually study all the living things out there? The squirrels, the trees, the wolves. Well, they don't just look at one tree or a single bird. They look at the bigger picture. Today, we're jumping right into this explainer to explore a completely fascinating concept that acts as the very foundation of life on Earth. We're talking about populations. Okay, here's our quick roadmap of the building blocks we'll be looking at today. 1. What is a population? 2. Why populations matter. 3. Properties of a population. 4. Population structure. 5. What affects populations? And finally, 6. Protecting ecosystems and facts. All right, let's dive into this. Section 1. What is a population? To put it simply, a population is a group of individuals of the exact same species that live in the same area for a long time. Because they live like they're together, they can freely interbreed and they share a common genetic origin. Think about, the squirrels you might see darting around a city park. That right there is a population. Or a pack of wolves roaming through a dense forest. Even the pine trees growing together in a specific pine forest? Yep, that makes up a population too. A single species is actually made up of many, many different populations spread all across the world. Now, this brings us to a really crucial question. Think about this for a second. Can a single animal preserve an entire species? Like, if there was literally only one wolf left, or just one pine tree, could it somehow keep its kind going forever? The answer is no way. An individual just cannot preserve a species all on its own. A population acts as a team. You see, a population is able to reproduce and pass on vital hereditary information, and because it's a group, it has the collective ability to adapt to changes in the environment. It takes a whole population working together, growing and adapting to maintain the existence of the species for many, many generations. If a population disappears, well, part of the genetic diversity of that entire species is lost forever. Moving right along. Section 2. Properties of a population. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the difference between simply counting animals and seeing how tightly packed they are. Size is just the total number of individuals. For example, you might have exactly 50 moose living in a giant forest. But density is kind of different. Density shows how tightly individuals occupy an area, like 100 trees packed into a single hectare of land. Both of these numbers constantly change due to births, deaths, migration, and the environment. And speaking of changing numbers, it all really comes down to a dynamic balance between the birth rate and the death rate. The birth rate is the number of new individuals born in a certain period, like baby rabbits arriving in the spring. The higher the birth rate, the faster the population grows. But nature is tough. The death rate is the number of individuals that die during that same time, caused by natural factors like predators, diseases, or just harsh weather. The difference between the two gives us our overall population growth. If more individuals are born than die, that population arrow points up and it increases. But hey, it's not just about the numbers. It's absolutely about variety too. Look closely at a group of insects or birds. They aren't identical clones with the exact same colors and patterns. This is called genetic diversity. Individuals in a population differ slightly from each other in their traits. And this is actually a species' secret weapon. Why? Because these tiny differences help the whole group survive when the environment changes. Some might be better at hiding, while others might be, say, better at fighting off a new disease. All right, Section 3, Structure of a Population. First up, we have the age structure. Just like in a human city, an ideal animal population needs a really healthy mix of generations. You need young individuals, adult individuals, and old individuals. This ratio is super important. Actually, if there are very few young individuals being born and growing up, scientists know that the population might soon start to decrease. It's like a huge early warning sign. You also have a sex structure, which is the ratio of males to females, and that's absolutely crucial for successful reproduction. Then we have how they actually organize themselves in the world. Spatial structure is how they are distributed across a territory, like how seagulls are specifically located along a coast. But social structure is how they interact with each other. And this is especially amazing in animals. Think of the intense teamwork in wolf packs, the family bonds in lion prides, or those incredibly complex insect cities found inside anthills and beehives. Next up, Section 4, What affects populations? First are the abiotic factors. Abiotic basically means non-living. These are the physical rules of nature that every single living thing must deal with. We're talking about temperature, moisture in the air, the amount of sunlight they get, and the availability of water across the seasons. If a summer drought dries up the water, or a harsh winter drops the temperature, well, the population has to adapt or shrink. Next are the biotic factors. Biotic means living. This is the daily struggle and interaction with other living organisms. A population has to deal with competitors trying to eat their food, predators trying to eat them, parasites making them sick, and the constant everyday search for enough food resources to keep the whole group strong. And finally, there are anthropogenic factors. Now, that's a really big scientific word, but it just means human activity. Things we do every single day have massive impacts on wild populations. Deforestation destroys their homes. Pollution poisons their water and air. Hunting directly removes individuals, and urban development literally paves over the spaces they used to live. Honestly, human actions can be one of the biggest challenges a wild population faces.
Which brings us to Section 5, Protecting Our Ecosystems and Facts.
But human impact doesn't have to be bad, right? When we step in to help, some pretty incredible things happen. Conserving populations ensures the survival of species and preserves nature for future generations. Just look at the successful restoration of the mighty bison population or the super dedicated protection of giant panda populations. By creating nature reserves for rare birds like eagles and protecting vast forests, we preserve the plant and animal populations that keep our entire global ecosystem functioning properly. And this brilliantly illustrates how incredible nature's social structures can be when they thrive. Did you know that a single large ant colony can contain several million ants? Millions, all of them working together, communicating, and surviving as one massive unified population? No way, right? In the oceans, the spatial structure is just as staggering. Some fish form massive schools that travel together with literally hundreds of thousands of individuals. Moving perfectly in sync, this gigantic population strategy totally confuses predators and helps them find food across the vast open ocean. So, what does this all mean? Well, it points to one undeniable truth. The more stable populations are, the more stable ecosystems are, and the richer life on our planet becomes. Everything is connected. When a population of bees is stable, the flowers get pollinated. When a population of wolves is stable, the entire forest stays balanced. So if there is one core takeaway from our time today, it's this. Remember, a population is a group of individuals of the same species living together and interbreeding. It is the absolute structural unit of a species. Without healthy populations, you simply cannot have healthy species. By understanding properties like size, density, and genetic diversity, we can actually monitor the health of nature. Preserving populations is exactly how we save species and maintain the breathtaking biodiversity of our world. Protect populations, protect biodiversity. It's been so awesome exploring the building blocks of nature with you all today. But before you go, I want to leave you with a little something to think about. If a population is the building block of life on Earth, take a look outside your window. How might human actions in your own town be acting as an anthropogenic factor right now? Are they helping or maybe hurting the animal and plant populations living right in your neighborhood? Think about it. Thanks for exploring this explainer with me today, and keep learning.